What's going on, everyone? So today we're talking Boba Red, definitely a deck that's kind of in that same vein as Leia Red or Sabine Green, albeit a little bit more mid-rangey focus, going a little bit bigger than Sabine and Leia, which could actually lead to some even better games in a lot of situations. So before we dive into the deck and talk about some really strong aspects of Boba Red here, I have a TCG player link in the description down below, guys. If you want to pick up any set 2 or set 1 cards, be sure to use that link. It helps me out as well as helps you out. Let's talk Boba Red. So first off, Boba, anytime we play a unit that has 1 or more keywords, you may exhaust Boba Fett, and if you do, you can give a friendly unit +1/+0. So the idea is we play units that have keywords in order to pump our previous units that we played. If you look at a lot of the other kind of heroism aggressive units, or any even command heroism units that we were seeing in the previous set, a lot of them just kind of had keywords naturally. So this is not a very difficult thing to kind of accomplish. On the flip side, he flips for 6 as a 4/7 and gives all of your other units that have keywords +1/+0 as just a static ability. So the idea here is we play on curve and we want to go ahead and play keyword units at least on 3 resources or above, because playing keyword units on, turn 1 doesn't really do anything because you can't use that pump. But a little bit later on, playing those 1 drops alongside 3 drops could potentially give you a little bit of extra value. So what do we got going on here? Well, we have a lot of your standard stuff that you're used to seeing in Heroism Red. We have things like R2 at the start of the curve, as well as Battlefield Marine, A-Wing, Akbar, Echo Base, and Red 3, kind of on the 3 drop slot or below what you're used to seeing. A-Wing, Battlefield Marine, some of the best aggressively slanted units. A-Wing obviously only attacks as a 3/3, so it's only a 1/3 on defense, but that's okay. And all of these units are just really solid early plays, and some of them even trigger the keyword like A-Wing, Echo Base, and Red 3. As we go a little bit up the curve, we have K2 on our 4 drop slot, which is really nice. And then as we skip ahead a little bit, we've got ourselves Traitorous, Ewing Reinforcement, and Mace Windu as sort of our top end either interaction or, ability to kind of go bigger than our opponents. Ewing is really solid in this deck, especially just getting you potentially multiple different units or high value units. Mace Windu, really solid. Any ambush unit that we have can potentially become +1 power when you're ambushing. So Mace Windu gets a lot more valuable in this deck specifically because he comes down with ambush. And then we have for a cause Admiral Akbar to kind of wrap up in terms of either closing out the game or giving us a little bit more interaction on board. And then we bring in set 2 cards, and this is where the deck gets a lot more crazy. So starting on the 1 drop slot, we have Clone Deserters and Maz Kanata. Maz Kanata works really well when you have multiple 1 drops and you're against a deck that doesn't have necessarily a ground unit play, or maybe goes with like taking initiative or some sort of event or some sort of upgrade. Maz Kanata can be very valuable in the earlier stages, and then in some stages it can be pretty bad. But of course, Clone Deserter just as a 2/3 can be really nice. Timely intervention, this is really important, especially when we want to kind of ambush out some of our bigger stuff. So if we go a little bit bigger, ambushing out things like Poe Dameron or Wrecker, which we'll talk about in just a moment. Reckless Gunslinger is another option for another 1 drop alongside Maz Kanata. This is only a 1 of, and it oftentimes just gets smuggled out later on in the game. As we go a little bit up the curve here, on a 3 drop slot, we have Sundari Peacekeeper, a brand new set 2 card. This is excellent. It is double keyworded, although it doesn't necessarily matter. But it's just a raid 2 restored 2, so basically a 3 resource 3/5 with restore 2, which is really exceptional. Modded Cohort becomes a 4/4 ambusher. In some cases, a 5/4 ambusher if you want to pump it with Boba Fett, which makes it a lot more useful. Just a kind of value unit that you can play out and get some value by killing your opponent's units and keeping it around. Marauder in space, this is really nice, again, as an ambush unit, similar to Modded Cohort, but in some cases it can actually ramp you, which is quite nice. And then at the top end of our curve, alongside Ewing Reinforcement and Mace Windu, we have Poe Dameron and Wrecker. Poe Dameron, just an excellent 5 resource 6/6, has a really nice on attack trigger, and Wrecker has a keyword of 7/6 and acts as a removal in this deck, both of which are really excellent with timely intervention. And then as the last card I want to talk about, Inspiring Mentor. This card's a little bit unassuming, but I think a lot of people are sleeping on this card, but it's one of the best cards in Green Heroism right now. You put this on, I don't know, something like a Sundari Peacekeeper or an A-Wing even. All right, you can't attach to an A-Wing, but you attach it to something, then you give the experience to an A-Wing is what I meant to say. You can get just a lot of value, and it can really outpace your opponent very, very quickly. And if you're in another mid-range matchup, you put this on a Boba Fett, and suddenly, you're getting some massive, massive value. And remember, it triggers on attack and when that unit is defeated. So even if they deal with it, probably with trading with your unit that has Inspiring Mentor, you're getting another experience token anyways. So we'll see how valuable this is, but I've been very impressed with it on Sabine. And now Sabine does come down a little bit earlier than Boba. In fact, 2 whole turns earlier. So that is something to consider. But, well, ideally, we're going to see some massive value here and get in pretty aggressively, but also in some cases a little bit more big than Sabine tends to go. So with all that said, let's dive into some games and showcase some Boba Red. Looks like for our first game, we're against Boba Yellow, which is a little bit of a tricky matchup for sure, especially with something like Tarkin Town. We could definitely get aggroed out pretty quickly. But this is a pretty good hand. I mean, we have the 4 cause, we have the timing intervention that we can go in and resource. We have some really nice options here on our curve. I think this is definitely a keep. And although I can resource this and smuggle it out, I actually might want to use it as an ambush potential. And this is not a matchup where I think For a Cause is actually that good in, because we are most likely going to be a little bit more mid-range than our opponent is going to be, which means we need to take the responsibility of trying to make sure we don't die, right? So that's going to be the goal here. And because of that, I would like to go ahead and keep that timely intervention in hand and potentially use it as just a 1 resource play rather than a 2 resource play. And of course, later on, we could potentially change our minds. Definitely could be the case here. There's a For a Cause, and that is a Wrecker here. I want to keep Wrecker and I want to keep Poe Dameron, and I don't think For a Cause, again, is all that great. So we're going to go ahead and play the Sundari Peacekeeper, pump up our A-Wing, and hopefully get in for some damage. If they go Waylay on our A-Wing here, I am definitely happy with that. So not too worried about something like that happening. Here we're just going to attack in for 4, and they're probably going to, I mean, they might actually attack the Sundari Peacekeeper here, as that could be pretty impactful for them. Okay, we drew ourselves a couple of 1-drops, which means that we do actually want to resource this timely intervention at this point. And we could definitely time the intervention out something. They're going to waylay the Sundari Peacekeeper. A little bit interesting, to be honest. Let's go ahead and attack here for 3. They're going to hit. We're going to go ahead and play a Sundari Peacekeeper. And we're going to go ahead and play an R2. Waylaying is really not that bad for us. Let's see. Marauder is excellent. Let's go ahead and keep that. And let's pass. And now we get to resource probably this Clone Deserter. Don't know if we're really going to get there. But having the time intervention can be potentially really, really useful. Here, let's just go. Do we want Marauder or do we want a time intervention out something? I think we just want to go Marauder, pump the R2, and then we get to ambush this and then kill their Viper probe droid, which looks really, really solid. Let's go ahead and kill their Viper probe droid. Let's go ahead and bottom. Actually, I think the Sundari Peacekeeper is really solid here, so I'm actually going to keep it on top. They're doing their Boba Yellow thing for sure. They're, going around and essentially playing a bunch of units and templing us out for sure. But they're killing my R2. That seems odd to me. Bodhi, traitorous. Okay. Here, I think we just start off with the Boba Fett flip because we want to be able to go ahead and play Wrecker and have Boba Fett out on the battlefield. So let's go ahead and flip Boba Fett. And ideally, we go Bazine Natal. Yeah, they can play Bazine all they want. We are going to go ahead and play a Wrecker regardless of what they do here. So I am really not super scared of what they got going on. We kill Bodhi. And they're going to take a Wrecker. Sure, we're going to kill Bodhi here to start us off. Make sure we get rid of as much damage as possible. And then we follow that up with, we can also ECL out a Sundari Peacekeeper to go ahead and kill the Bazine Natal. Here, let's just go ahead and I think we actually do want to do that. Because we can go ECL out this plus R2, which sets up quite nicely. Let's go ahead and kill the Bazine Natal, gain some life. Really do like that gaining of life here, because this also has the potential to just clear off a lot of their board, and we set up a bigger board presence. Playing Wrecker kind of diminishes our options a little bit, because we lose our resource, of course. They're going to claim initiative. We're going to attack and pass here. Modded cohort looks great here. This attacks as a 5 resource, 5 power unit, by the way. Let's see what they've got going on here. They are playing a Zuckuss here. Okay. Let's just go ahead and modded cohort. Kill their Cantina Bouncer. They're going to hit our base. Okay, let's go ahead and hit their base. Let's go ahead and hit their base again. Hit their base. Hit their base. Let's bottom the Marauder and pass. I could have played Wrecker. That is something I could have played instead of the modded cohort. But the idea here is that we're keeping our resources high, and we're playing value plays anyways, and we're not really pressured in, attempting to really rush them down. If they had played like a Cunning or something, or they played something else than a Zuckuss, I would have been a lot more scared. But them playing a Zuckuss means that we basically won the game. So I really wasn't concerned about getting Wrecker down at this point, and I would have rather played modded cohort, because it kind of does the same thing. We get a attacker off the battlefield, and we keep a unit around, which is exactly what we're looking for. Yes, they get to keep Boba Fett, but the way this game is going, because we ECL'd out or timely intervention out the Sundari Peacekeeper, which I think was a great play, because we got the trade in, or we killed their units, and we were able to go ahead and we killed the Bazine, and we were able to go ahead and restore. With that restore on the battlefield, we're pretty much set for the rest of the game, and I'm really not worried at all. So pretty nice start here. We kind of just, again, went a little bit bigger than them. They were playing units, they were bouncing units, they were doing their thing, and then we played our units that just got a little bit more powerful, and we were able to outvalue the Boba yellow player. Although they didn't seem to have a great hand, or maybe they didn't play it correctly. Regardless, that's game number 1. Let's move on to the next one. Looks like next matchup we got is against Kira Red, and no turn 1 play besides the Inspiring Minotaur, which we can't play on turn 1. That's very unlucky. We have like 14 turn 1 plays in the deck, so the fact that we have 0 is pretty unlucky. Kira is a little bit more value oriented, which means that, do we want to keep something like For a Cause? This could also be a matchup where For a Cause doesn't actually matter too much. So I think I'm incentivized to go ahead and resource that, and probably the red 3, because I want to go Clone Deserter plus Echo Base here. So let's go ahead and Clone Deserter, Echo Base, and be happy with that to start us off. Ooh, Admiral Akbar could potentially be good a little bit later on. Do I want to resource Akbar, however, because I want to go K2 into Marauder into Wrecker? Yeah, I think so, actually. I think that's probably what I want to do here. Let's go ahead and see what they decide to do with this 3 resources. They could give a shield token to Pike Sentinel. It looks like that's what they're going to be doing. Okay, let's go ahead and pump up the Clone Deserter here. Play an Echo Base. They have 2 resources. Let's see what they can follow that up with. Don't think I need to rush in to use my Tarkin Town in here in this spot. Let's just go ahead and attack their shield token and then pass. And now we have double K2, which looks pretty good. I actually do want to keep both of them. I'd rather keep the double K2 over an R2. Here they could, best case scenario, have like a legal authority. Oh, no, they can't. Well, they could splash it because they're not playing green. I'm trying to think of something that could have really messed this up. Anything to pump toughness and remove one of our units could have been potentially pretty good for them. Let's just go ahead and attack in. Oh, actually, let's play K2, pump our Clone Deserter, and then attack in for 3. They're going to claim initiative. We're going to, go ahead and hit them for 3 and then pass. Traitorous on a punishing one could potentially be pretty nice. I don't think we want double Wrecker here. Let me think about this. Do I want to keep a Wrecker, or do I want to keep another K2? I think I could safely resource one of the Wreckers. Traitorous on one of these units could potentially be very, very solid. Here, I'm just going to go ahead and hit their cell block guard and hit them for 1 with K2. I don't really see a reason to rush into any play right now. I could have Trader as the punishing one to start us off. Ooh, they're going to flip over the Kira here. Okay, let's just go ahead and Marauder, because it's the highest value play. And we can pump the Clone Deserter here. So we kill the punishing one, and then we pump the Clone Deserter. And now Kira has to trade with Echo Base unless they have something else with Kira. And if not, then we can trade potentially 2 of our units for Kira. But that ends up being pretty us favored anyways, because we have really powerful cards in hand, and we get to go ahead and deploy our Boba Fett next turn. So quite liking our spot here. And ooh, a Timely Intervention could potentially be quite good. In this spot, I'm going to go on and resource the Traitorous. For a Cause does actually look quite nice. And I could potentially keep the Timely Intervention plus Wrecker combination here for the next turn. Here, I want to go ahead and play a unit before I deploy Boba Fett, because it's going to give me a +1/+0, and then I get Boba Fett, and then I get another pump for the whole team. But I actually do want to get down Boba Fett before I attack. It's going to pump all of the units on the battlefield right now, so that's going to be pretty important. I could also Timely Intervention out a K2SO. That is possible. Kylo Ren. Okay, well, that is pretty nice for us, I will say. We're just going to go ahead and get down a Wrecker and then finish off the Kylo Ren with a Tarkin Town. So we're going to give +1 power to the Clone Deserter. We can go on and destroy the other Wrecker, and then we deal 5 to Kylo Ren. And then we kill the Kylo Ren with Tarkin Town. We flip Boba. We wait. Oh, I made a mistake. Whoops. I forgot to flip Boba before we play Wrecker. So that was well, it was a little bit awkward because we needed to go ahead and play Wrecker to get the +1/+0 from Boba Fett. But that is a pretty base level mistake that you don't want to be doing on Boba Fett. It didn't end up making us miss out on a lot of damage. What we should have done is flip Boba Fett before we played Wrecker, just to give a little bit of extra, damage to our whole team. To be honest, though, it's really not going to matter because we're just going to attack with our units and then play for a cause and be pretty okay. We can also flip Boba Fett this turn. There isn't really many things that they could have had, but that was definitely kind of like a pretty simple mistake that we could have avoided by just playing kind of the card that we should have played, which was Boba Fett flip. Here we can go red 3, pump a Clone Deserter. This also gives our Clone Deserter +1 power. And then we attack with Clone Deserter, we flip Boba Fett, and then we just go ahead and kill them. Pretty straightforward stuff. Don't think Unexpected Escape is good at all. And, well, this was a pretty straightforward game. Small mistake, but ended up getting there. We were so ahead. I don't really think that there was anything that our opponent could have done, but pretty nice showing. Let's go on to game number 3. All right, so we find ourselves in a match against Cad Green, and we have a turn 1 play, turn 2 play, and a turn 3 play. And I think we don't mulligan this, and we're going to go ahead and resource the For a Cause. And I think in this spot, we actually want to resource the Wrecker. If we get unlucky and we end up drawing cards that are like whatever or cheap, like 1-drops, then we are going to be pretty sad to have resourced, one of our earlier plays. We want to be able to curve out, and this is the way to go ahead and do so. So let's go ahead and do that. Unfortunately for us, our Echo-based Defender just trades with their Greedo, so that's pretty mediocre for us. We have double Poe Dameron and a Marauder. I think we actually resource one of the Poe Damerons at this point. Let's see if they attack in with Greedo or what they decide to do first. They could ECL out something. They're going to Waylay. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and play an Echo-based Defender. Don't think Waylay is particularly strong for them, but, that's fine. They're going to claim initiative, so not even going to bother to attack. Seems a little bit odd to me. Let's go ahead and keep, actually, the A-Wing in hand, and the modded cohort looks pretty good here because we could potentially kill the Greedo off. Kind of curious what our opponent's going to be doing here. They're mock clunkying. Okay, that's fine. They're going for kind of, I guess, value here. They're bouncing their Greedos. They're killing our units. They're playing a little bit more of a controlling style right now. Looks like they're resupplying here. So That's fine as well. We're just going to go ahead and immediately get in for some damage. I like to go ahead and resource, or I'd like to go ahead and resource this clone deserter, and then just get in for 4 damage here into their base. They're going to be able to get down Cad Bane here, but we're also going to be able to get down a Podameron, so they need to have something pretty good to not get essentially destroyed. Let's go ahead and just play the Podameron and see what they end up going with. Podameron can just one-shot Cad Bane if we get an attack with it, so that is something to keep in mind. They're going to Relentless Pursuit. Okay, sure. Relentless Pursuit looks pretty good on this board for sure. They're going to Greedo, deal 2 damage. They're probably going to go ahead and hit my K2 at this point. No, they're going to hit the base. Okay, cool. Let's just go ahead and see what we want to play here. I think one of the A-Wings can go. I think in this spot, we actually want to go ahead and modded cohort plus A-Wing. Let's ambush. Let's go ahead and hit the Greedo. Let's see if they hit a non-unit card. They did not. We have an A-Wing here, which we can use our other 2 resources with. Let's go ahead and just deal 2 damage to the modded cohort. That's fine. If they want to ambush, that's fine. Let's make them discard here. They're going to discard a Forlon. All right, let's flip over Boba Fett. And they're going to ECL out a Zuckuss, huh? All right. We're just going to play an A-Wing, and they're probably going to kill my Boba Fett. And then we get to go Tarkin Town the Zuckuss. And then now we are essentially fighting their leader. And we have a U-Wing reinforcement coming down this turn, which is going to be quite nice. I think we can probably resource this Echo Base Defender. They're going to attack. We're going to play a U-Wing reinforcement. And, ooh, that is a Mace Windu. Do we want Mace Windu, or do we want to get a couple of other plays? I think in this spot, we actually want a Maz Kanata. And then Echo Base and Admiral Akbar. No. I want to be able to play the Maz Kanata first. I would rather have the Maz Kanata be played first. All right, well, that's not exactly how I wanted it to go. This should have 2 experience tokens on it. But unfortunately for us, like, we were in a spot where we couldn't really do that, I suppose. Like, it just wasn't working quite properly. They're going to play a Pirated Starfighter, bounce their Dr. Evazan, and then go ahead and replay their Dr. Evazan. Ooh, that is a Mace Windu. That is quite nice. Let's go ahead and resource the K2. I think in this spot, we actually just want to go ahead and hit the Cad Bane for 4 to start us off. Mace Windu and Traitorous gives us a lot of options here. They're just going to trade. We're going to get back Podameron, which is excellent. And then we get to go ahead and probably just play a Mace Windu. Actually, let's go ahead and just hit the Dr. Evazan, restore 1. And if they want to kill my A-Wing here, we go Mace Windu, pump the Maz Kanata, kill their Dr. Evazan, ready all the resources, and then we get to go Red 3 plus Marauder, which is going to pump the Maz Kanata even further. And then we can kill their Super Laser Technician and ready up Mace Windu yet again. Ooh, boy. We could even Traitorous this Super Laser Technician if we would want to. But I think it's just better to play out the Marauder here. Yeah, we're outvaluing them. That U-Wing reinforcements was critical. Relentless Pursuit can be interesting, but unfortunately for them, like, this is just absolute domination. Like, ooh, we can discard a card. Let's see, what do we have? Akbar. Do we have anything on the battlefield? Doesn't look like it. We will resolve the ambush attack, kill their pirated starfighter. Let's go ahead and hit their base for 5 and hit their base for 6 and then pass. And I mean, look at our board versus their board. That is pretty insane. And that's going to be GG. So pretty close game, I would say, at that kind of that middling stage of the game when they had all the tricks and stuff. Maybe it wasn't as close of a game as I was initially going to think, but they had a lot of things going on in the earlier stages of the game, and I was a little bit worried that we're going to get outpaced here, but the U-wing reinforcement really flipped it around for us and got us there. Definitely got us there. So happy about that, and on to the next game. And against the next opponent, it is Mandalorian Blue, which looks a little bit scary here. Here I'm going to go ahead and resource the timing intervention and the clone deserter, just get down an A-wing on turn 1. Probably just immediately attack with it to prevent them from potentially exhausting it, and then we can go with an Akbar to, you know, deal a damage to something. Very unimpressive turn 2, I will say, but there isn't really many other options that we have. We could mulligan, but we have a turn 1 play and a turn 2 play technically, so that is something to consider. See what our opponent's got. They're resourcing first. I thought we had the initiative for some reason, but I am incorrect about that. They're going to play a Queel, and we're going to play an A-Wing, and we're going to see what's up. We could also go Tarkin Town plus Akbar to kill off their Queel, especially if they play, you know, like a devotion on it. That could be really useful for us to get rid of. Inspiring Mentor looks reasonable here. I think we probably resource the Mace Windu at this point. We have kind of an on-curve play going, and Inspiring Mentor looks to be a little bit more useful than what we got going on with Mace Windu right now, so hopefully they play like a devotion. A Jedi lightsaber, huh? Well, that is a little bit scary. Do 1 damage to Queel here. Don't exactly like seeing the Jedi lightsaber coming down. Jedi lightsaber is very brutal for us. They're going to give it a shield token. Okay. Reasonable. Are they going to hit my Akbar? Ooh, and they drew a card here. Wow. That is brutal. That is pretty brutal. Let's go ahead and just play the resource the red 3 in this spot. They are immensely far ahead. Like, it's not even close, to be honest. They are that far ahead right now. Inspiring Mentor is pretty bad in this spot, to be honest, as well, because they can just tap down whatever we Inspiring Mentor. Shield token makes things a little bit more awkward as well. Jedi Lightsaber is like one of those cards where it's like we really just did not want to see it, and they've drawn now 2 different cards here with Queel, and they're restoring 1 here. So yeah, they are getting reasonably lucky with Queel, but also it's just a really strong card. The card is really good. If you guys remember when we played the Mando Blue deck, it was really good against any sort of aggressively focused deck here. It is quite good. Let's go ahead and play a K2. We can pump up something, but it doesn't really matter. I wanted to get in our damage while we could. Looks like they're going to probably upgrade the Follower of the Way. They are. And we're going to claim initiative. So here, Traitorous. Now that is an absolutely fan-freaking-tastic draw. That is exactly what we needed to turn the game around. And to be honest, I mean, I don't know if there's any other card in our deck that could have done it. But yeah, Traitorous on the Queel here is going to be excellent. I mean, that is insane. We can't draw any cards with Queel, but it really does shift the game a lot in our favor. So really happy to see that. If they go ahead and attack our K2 with the Follower of the Way, then they just get a kill with Akbar. If they attack our base, then we just kill their Follower of the Way with our... Wow, they're going to go with a Jedi lightsaber here, huh? Let's just go ahead and hit the Follower of the Way, and then let's Tarkin Town we shouldn't have drawn the Green Squadron A-Wing, huh? Oh, wait, no. We can draw a card because it's just to discard a card from your deck if it's just an aspect of your base. I forgot how this is worked. For some reason, I was like, oh, it only gets blue cards. But that's because you're usually playing it in blue decks. But no, that I don't know what I'm saying. That definitely should have drawn the A-Wing. Awesome. Yeah, we drew an A-Wing. Sweet. Tarkin Town's going to be able to finish off the Fall of the Way here, which is awesome. Let's see if they decide to trade with the Queel here. Let's just go Tarkin Town on the Fall of the Way. And that is a pretty swingy turn for us for sure. We are definitely in the lead. I mean, we have a very nice board state here. Let's see what they name. They're going to name Poe. Okay, let's just go ahead and attack for 3 here. And then we'll attack their base for 1. And then we'll pass. And, well, we drew a couple of solid ones. We can go Maz Kanata A-Wing plus Red 3. We can go Red 3 A-Wing. Or we can go A-Wing, Maz Kanata, Inspiring Mentor. I think Marauder's the card we least are excited about because usually Mando Blue isn't playing many space units. So I think we can just go ahead and resource the Marauder as it's really not going to give us all that much value here. They're going to go with an Electro Staff here. And we are going to flip Boba, which is going to pump the Queel. And then we get to go ahead and probably kill their... We actually can't kill their regional governor in this position because they have an Electro Staff on him. I want to get down the Red 3, Maz Kanata, Inspiring Mentor potentially this turn. Really depends because they can go Mandalorian Rifle, which messes us up pretty drastically. So we have to be careful because if they go Mandalorian Rifle, steal the Queel, then we are in a lot worse of a position. So I think in this spot, we actually just want to go ahead and SPAC the Mandalorian here with Queel. Just so that we are in a spot where if they do go Mandalorian Rifle, they don't get in for 7 damage, which is pretty game-changing for our spot, for sure. Let's see what they've got here. They can't exhaust both Boba Fett and Akbar, so they're going to have to make a choice here. Vambrace Grapple Shot, huh? Okay, let's just go ahead and hit the Mandalorian. Yeah. Don't want Mandalorian on the battlefield. If they want to go ahead and hit our base for 5, that is okay. They've had a pretty nice draw here. I mean, they've had a nice kind of upgrade / unit split. See if they decide to kill a unit. They're just going to attack for 5. Okay, makes reasonable amount of sense. Let's go Maz Kanata here. Let's play Red 3 plus Inspiring Mentor on the Boba Fett. And then attack for 5 and then pass. Wrecker is a super solid draw here. Gonna resource probably one of these A-Wings. They can attack for a lot of damage here. They can pump up Regional Governor even further, but we do have Restore 1, which probably gets us there in terms of keeping our units alive. So I'm not super worried about it, but they definitely could have some big game-swinging things here happen. Let's see what they've got. Traitorous on Queel is an absolute game swinger, but... What do you got, opponent? What do you got? They look to be thinking. They're going base. They realize that they can't get board control back, so they're trying their hardest here to kind of fight back in a different way. Okay, they're going to go ahead and hit the Queel. I'm going to go ahead and give an experience token to the K2, and then Boba Fett's going to die. Which is going to give another experience to K2 so we can actually one-shot the Luke. And then we could just go K2SO plus A-Wing, which is going to pump the Maz Kanata. Or we could just hit, play a Wrecker, and then kill their regional governor. Yeah, that seems a little bit more exciting. I'll deal 3 damage to them, because I don't think the card discarding is going to be extremely relevant in this spot. Let's just go ahead and play a Wrecker, defeat, kill the regional governor. We're going to go ahead and attack, and that's going to be game. Cool. So that was a pretty sweet one, and I was expecting a little bit more from the later stages of the game, but I mean, they had a lot of upgrades in their deck. I played Mando Blue, but I didn't go as hard into the upgrades as they did, but they definitely had a really nice split. Traitorous absolutely won the game for us. It's one of the reasons why I've been playing Traitorous main deck in basically any command deck, because there are a lot of decks where, well, Traitorous is just good against. Like, if you steal a Super Laser Technician, that can be a pretty game swinging play for sure. But if you steal, you know, like a pumped up 3-drop or 2-drop, it can really, really mess up your opponent as well. And it's pretty frequent. So, pretty nice one. And on to the next one. On to the next matchup, and it looks like we're against some sort of discard Ray deck. No mulligans here. We have a nice, you know, turn 1, turn 2 option for us. Usually Ray is going to have some sort of unit that comes down, so I think Maz Kanata is looking a little bit weak here. So I think I'm just going to resource their R2 in the Maz Kanata and then just go with a Battlefield Marine to start us off, and then probably go red 3. Yep. Looks like if I had gone Maz Kanata, it would have been pretty mediocre for us, so I'm happy to have not done that. Let's claim initiative here. We drew double Podamran, which I think is actually solid. We're going to want one of them at least. Let's go to resource 1. And in this spot, you might be like, oh, shouldn't we, you know, attack their base? Not quite. So they have an option here. They can just trade their R2 with my Battlefield Marine, or we can Tarkin Town it and go that direction. Regardless, we want to be able to, you know, actually trade our Battlefield Marine with their R2. Because if we attack base here, what they do is they hit my Battlefield Marine for 3. And then it's pretty unfortunate for us because we have to use Tarkin Town at that point. Like, there's no option. Here, now we get to keep the Battlefield Marine and kill their R2 if we Tarkin Town, or they just trade their R2 for my Battlefield Marine and we just play red 3, and that's fine as well. So happy with either option here that they go with. They're going to attack our base. We're going to drop down a red 3. We'll pump up the Battlefield Marine. And we're going to see what they decide to do here. If they go ahead and play... Oh, they could play all sorts of things. They're going to open fire, huh? All right. We'll claim initiative here. Open fire is a little bit strange. I guess they're playing the more controlling deck again, the more discard-centric deck. That means that For a Cause is going to be pretty bad in this spot. Just in case they go pillage or something like that. I think we just start off with Tarkin Town on R2, and then we go K2, pump up the Battlefield Marine, and attack. There's a good chance that they're going to want to go like pillage this turn if they have it, and we have a nice option to discard. We have the Marauder plus A-Wing, and the only time that this gets really bad for us is they go pillage into pillage, and then we're like really sad. Because they get to take our Podamran and our other card that we drew for the next turn. But if they play pillage here, I think we're actually in a pretty solid spot, because we're going to be able to get in for 4 damage here and play the K2 if they go pillage. Looks like they go Village Protectors, huh? All right, well, that's a lot worse for us, I will admit. Not exactly super excited about Village Protectors, I will be honest. Let's go ahead and claim initiative here. Maz Kanata Mace Windu, huh? I think we just resource the Maz Kanata at this point. Let's go ahead and attack their Village Protectors with K2 to start us off. What does our opponent got? Attack their base for 1, get the shield off. Now they can choose to trade their Village Protectors with my K2, and then it's just a 1-for-1. Or they hit the Battlefield Marine, and essentially kind of like a 1-for-1, but they dealt some damage to K2, which isn't the worst. So, can you imagine if we drew Traitorous this turn? We just Traitorous their Village Protectors. Like, ooh, Traitorous is so good in so many different matchups. What do you got, opponent? What do you got? Pillage doesn't look that great right now. They have a restored arc. We're going to go ahead and play a Podameron. And now they have a choice. They can choose to trade their village protectors with my battlefield marine. If not, we can always attack their village protectors with my Podameron. Or we can just keep Podameron around because we want to be able to kill their unlicensed headhunter, huh? That's the play. Let's just go ahead and kill the village protectors here. Let's claim initiative. We have no cards in our discard pile that kind of let us ramp with Marauder right now. Like no K2s or no Podamerons. That would be awesome to have. The unlicensed headhunter is pretty bad. We're just going to be able to ambush it and gain 5 HP. So kind of love to see that. Let's go ahead and start us off with a Marauder. And pump up the K2. And I will go ahead and ambush the restored arc here. Now, if they attack my Marauder with the unlicensed headhunter, we get to go ahead and heal 2. But we also get rid of the restored arc. So really nice kind of 1-2 there with the Marauder. Make an opening killing the K2, I suppose. No, okay. Let's just go ahead and hit for 5 here. Kind of surprised that they went with that play. I'm surprised that this is kind of the deck that they're running. You know, open fire and make an opening. Like, these are okay. Repair? Oh, I mean, we are so far. It's like not even close. Podameron should not be pumped, by the way, with Boba Fett. That is kind of a mistake that our deck is doing right now. Daring Raid, huh? We'll deal 3 damage to their base. And here, we'll just go ahead and discard the Green Squadron A-Wing, hit their thing, and then just hit him for damage. They could flip Ray here, but if they do, then we get to just hit them with Podameron the following turn. So there really isn't anything that they could do here to kind of prevent us from winning. We don't have a time intervention, but I mean, our hand is absolutely stacked. We have a For a Cause. We have a Podameron and a Boba Fett on the battlefield. They have no units. They have no cards in their hand, or they did not have cards in their hand. And I don't really see a way that they could really come back in this game. Resource the Echo base and just rely on our big old fat units. Rivals fall. What do they kill? Boba Fett, huh? All right. I don't actually think that they should have been killing Boba Fett. Wait, I should have been able to deal 2 damage to their base with Podameron here. That was a little bit odd. Well, oh well. I don't think it matters. We should have been -1 damage anyways because Boba Fett wasn't working properly, so that's okay. Let's claim initiative. Let's just go ahead and smack Ray, hit him for approximately 1 million. Here we can go on a resource the time intervention, probably ECL something if we want to. We're just going to hit their array, and then we're going to go ahead and probably end the game this turn, is my guess. It's going to hit Ray for 2, them for 5, so they're going to get 24, and then Podameron just ends the game. Very interesting deck we got going on here. Don't know if you should be playing Unlicensed Headhunter in, like, your control deck. I suppose it's okay. Maybe that's, like, no downside, you know, but interesting. So here, we just attack. We can discard our Echo base. We deal 2 damage to something. And that should be fine. Don't need to make them discard. We're so far ahead right now. I'd rather keep a For a Cause. Here, we're going to play the For a Cause, deal 3 damage, and we'll keep K2. We'll keep K2, and we'll bin Traitorous in red 3. K2s are just so powerful that I'm okay with drawing 2 of them, especially since we can ECL out one of them. No need to resource anything. And I mean, I'm not sure what they could play here that gets them out of this. Maybe something that can stall a little bit longer, like a Village Protectors could be good. Open fire. All right. Pass, 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 and that's going to be game. GG, GG. This is usually a different style of deck. Usually you're seeing like discard, pillage, you're seeing like force throws, cannons, that type of stuff, but this was a lot different, and honestly, not really all that scary. I didn't really feel like at any point we were under any threat. I mean, as you can see, we have no damage on our base. We're pretty far ahead on board, especially since we have the Reckless Gunslinger, the Timing Intervention, and double K2. Game was relatively on the easier side. On to the next one. Next one up, we got ourselves a Jabba Yellow, and not gonna mulligan this, and I could go R2 plus Clone Deserter, or I could resource both of those and then just play an A-Wing. And I think I'd rather just play the A-Wing, as in this matchup, having Jabba get an extra card is actually kind of relevant. And there are a lot of spots where we actually just want to get in damage in space, since they're not going to have nearly as many options. They're going to activate the bounty, huh? Not sure why they're doing that. So I'm not sure what one resource play they can make that wants a bounty on my A-Wing here. Okay, they passed. And ooh, we drew a pretty interesting one. We drew an Akbar, which just straight up kills their Greedo. I actually think I like just playing out the Akbar here. I think that's pretty valuable. Just to kill their Greedo. We can pump up our A-Wing here. And now they have no options of, you know, putting a bounty on our unit, killing our units. That could be a little bit unfortunate for us, for sure. So they're going to discard a card. They discarded a Darth Vader. And next turn, we can go Time Intervention out a Sundari Peacekeeper. They went ahead and played a 7th Fleet Defender. We went ahead and tacked in for 4. Got in a little bit of damage, which was nice. They're going to be able to kill our A-Wing. The 7th Fleet Defender ends up being pretty good in this spot for them. Here, we could probably just get rid of this Battlefield Marine. Could have gotten rid of the Timely Intervention, I suppose. Oh, they're going to go for the bounty here. I don't know if they should have done that. Yeah, they could play a 5-drop, but this allows us to get in additional 3 damage, which we otherwise would not have been able to. Assuming they're going to kill my A-Wing, which I definitely assume that that's what's going to happen here. We have a pretty weak curve, to be honest. Didn't draw into any of our powerful 4-drops, K2 being the chief among them. They can play something for 1 cheaper, so they can play like a Zuckuss, for example. Chain Code Collector, huh? That was an interesting one for sure. So now we get to go Time Intervention out of Sundari Peacekeeper, although we could just play the Sundari Peacekeeper. I don't think it's actually necessary to Timely Intervention it out, and we can keep it for potentially a Wrecker here upcoming. Those were some nice draws. A-Wing and Red 3, both pretty solid, I will say. I think I'm interested in just getting down the Marauder this turn. I think that's what's most exciting. Or we can get down the A-Wing and the Red 3 and then set up for Marauder turn. Interesting. Kind of a couple of interesting options here. Asteroid Sanctuary, huh? Very, very interesting. Did not expect that to come out from our opponent, to be honest. Let's just go ahead and play a Red 3. They're going to kill the Red 3, almost assuredly. We'll play an A-Wing. Asteroid Sanctuary. Did not expect that one, to be honest. They're almost incentivized to kill the Red 3, or they're very incentivized to kill the Red 3. And then what we get to do is Marauder ramp with taking our A-Wing and putting it into the battlefield. And then we can set up for Timely Intervention Wrecker on the following turn. They have a Timely Intervention. Boba Fett. Wow, what a hand from our opponent. That was ridiculous. They kind of have everything in this spot. Wow. Really, really solid one from our opponent. Wrecker. I don't know if we want two Wreckers or do we even care about Traitorous, to be honest. We can Traitorous their Boba Fett. I think we actually do want the double Wrecker. So here we're gonna play a Marauder. We're gonna pump this. We're gonna pass. We're gonna choose the A-Wing, and we're gonna resolve the ambush attack. And now we are pretty strong and are a pretty good spot here, I will say. Asteroid Sanctuary ended up doing pretty nice. Oh, we discard a card from our hand. All right, sure. Let's go ahead and just kill off their Boba Fett. I think I'd rather get rid of the Boba Fett here. They have another no bargain. It's a little bit unfortunate, but there's not really much we could have done about that. Let's go ahead and flip Boba. It's going to give an extra power to our A-Wing. Don't know if they really have anything to kill off our A-Wing, which is why I'm doing this. They could have like a time intervention. They're going to waylay, huh? All right. I mean, that is an option that you do indeed have. Let's go ahead and kill off their chain code collector in this spot. Pass. And ooh, that was a couple of nice draws. Waylay. Our opponent's very, very interactive. They've had the 7th Fleet Defender plus the Asteroid Sanctuary little combo, Waylay, Chain Code Collector plus the Time Intervention, and No Bargain. So they've had a lot of different things to kind of mess with what's going on over here. One thing to remember, Jabba does not have the ability to capture anything if he has no other units on the battlefield. So we have to keep that in mind. Can also not capture the leaders. What did he put the bounty on? Not sure what he put the bounty on. I imagine it is the Marauder here. So here we probably just hit in for 4. We could actually just one-shot the oh, never mind. We have a different plan. We're just gonna go ahead and time intervention out. We could do the Wrecker or the Poe Dameron, actually. No, I like the Wrecker here. Let's go ahead and destroy an A-Wing, deal 5, and then yes, kill that, and then hit their base. Reason why that changed when they hit the Mach Clunky is because they could bounce the Jabba to deal 3 to my Marauder. If they didn't have that option, I would have been tempted to potentially just pass. They flip Jabba to steal my Marauder. But now we are really ahead on board. We have Poe Dameron and Key 2 in hand. If we draw a time intervention, that would be awesome. Asteroid Sanctuary. That seems pretty weak. They're going to play a Jabba. And then they're going to not capture anything. They are going to attack. Wrecker. Okay. Pretty straightforward here for us. We just hit their base for 8 with Wrecker. We can go and resource this Maz Kanata. Not going to be particularly useful at this point. Just hit their base for 8, and then we have 2 lethal threats, and that's going to be game. So GG. Definitely a weird deck list here. I mean, Asteroid Sanctuary can be good in some spots, and it was not terrible there. But then you saw there where it was just literally 2 resources exhaust a unit. Like, I think No Good to Me Dead's more consistent. Waylay's a little bit like more stally. No Bargain ended up not doing too much for our opponent. I like the Chain Code Collector. I think that's kind of interesting because, you know, you can guarantee an opponent has a bounty. Only problem with that is that you give up on like if you're going to play Chain Code Collector, you don't really want to be playing Forlom, which means you're not playing the Forlom Zuckuss combo. And I think I just prefer that, even though Chain Code Collector does, you know, potentially just completely remove attacks from our damage from your unit. But usually Forlom survives with 1 HP anyways, and there's not that much of a difference between 1 HP and 2 HP. So I think I just prefer Forlom and Zuckuss. Don't even like Jabba. Don't like Asteroid Sanctuary. I played a lot of Jabba Yellow, so I'm kind of into this deck. But anyways, pretty straightforward, not super difficult, and we ended up getting there. On to the next one. Got ourselves a matchup against Chewy Green, and this is a pretty mediocre hand. We have a double 1-drop with the Reckless Gunslinger and Clone Deserter, but it's a pretty weak one, so I think I just resourced that. And this is a much better hand. We have ourselves Traitorous, A-Wing, Echo Base. I'm incentivized to keep the Traitorous. I'm going to definitely resource the Time Intervention, and I think I'm going to resource this Poe Dameron. I'm keeping Traitorous because we're fighting Chewie Green, and there's very good chance that they have something like an Electro Staff on one of their early units, as that's a card you tend to want to play with Chewie. And so I am definitely heavily incentivized to go ahead and keep something like Traitorous around. And here, very happy they played an Arc 170. I'm just going to go ahead and straight up kill it. That's going to be pretty straightforward here. Let's go ahead and resource this Reckless Gunslinger. I could have gone Reckless Gunslinger plus Inspiring Mentor, but I think I'd prefer just getting down this Echo Base Defender. We're going to kill the Arc 170, play out Echo Base, and that's a really nice kind of 1-2 punch. We could keep or allow them to keep the Arc 170, but again, they could have something that pumps it, which would be pretty bad for us, because then we would be forced to kind of use our Target Town in that spot. What do you got, opponent? What are you resourcing? Let's start off with just killing their Arc 170. We're aggressive deck, but again, more so than not, we are an aggressive mid-range deck, so having something or killing something that gives us a nice value trade and puts us ahead on board is, I think, pretty relevant here. Colonel Yularen is whatever, not super worrisome at all. We drew ourselves another Poe Dameron, and I think we get rid of Traitorous at this point. They didn't actually end up playing anything that we were really incentivized to Traitorous, and they probably won't have something that they're going to Traitorous at this point. So, okay, they're going to go ahead and take down. Let's go ahead and play a K2, pump the A-Wing. And then we're going to go ahead and attack for 4. Next turn, we can get down a Poe Dameron. Following turn, we can Inspiring Mentor. Chewbacca doesn't come down until 7 resources, and they haven't ramped at all, so that's pretty promising for us. They're going to go ahead and hit our base for 2. Let's go ahead and hit their base for 4. And they're going to claim initiative. Okay. Maz Kanata looks pretty weak here. U-Wing Reinforcements, excellent draw. Probably just going to get down the Poe Dameron at this point. It's just super valuable. Super solid card. Heck, and it can almost one-shot a Chewie. That's pretty crazy, actually. Let's just go ahead and resource this Maz Kanata. They have... Oh, they're going to play a Sentinel something. A Sentinel Moisture Farmer. All right, we're just going to kill their Moisture Farmer, sure. Cool. Luke's lightsaber, huh? All right, let's go ahead and attack for 3. Very strange happenings from our opponent. Let's go ahead and play a Poe Dameron. I mean, they've essentially just paid 1 resource to gain 4 life, so it's not that bad. That's like a reasonable thing to do. A-Wing, Clone Deserter looks pretty bad. I think I like A-Wing over Clone Deserter. We drew 4 a cause in A-Wing, so not too bad there. Let's see what they've got here. I'm incentivized to go A-Wing Inspiring Mentor. They're going to resupply, huh? Okay. I think I just want to go ahead and... Let's go ahead and hit this guy. We will discard the 4 a cause to defeat an upgrade. And then we get to only deal 2 damage to Poe Dameron, which, you know, kind of lets us get a ton of value going here. We're just going to go ahead and play an A-Wing, pump the A-Wing. And now if Chewie hits Poe Dameron, they can't actually kill Poe Dameron, which is nice. They're going to pass. We're going to go ahead and flip Boba. And then we probably trade Boba plus K2 for their Chewie. Let's put an Inspiring Mentor on Boba. And now we get to pump up our A-Wing. Let's go attack. Experience. Oh, it actually only does 2 damage. That was a mistake. I'm not even losing my Boba. For some reason in my mind, I had it that we were going to lose our Boba. They're going to hit. We get to deal 3 damage. Not sure what their plan is. So they pass, so they can hit us for 7. Like, that seems incredibly weak. Another time intervention in the resource pile is really nice. We are just going to play a U-Wing reinforcements, however. I don't really see them winning this game at all. I don't know how they go about winning this game. Like, they did nothing kind of the whole game. And then they relied on their Chewie. I'm surprised they didn't kill our Poe Dameron. Like, it trades, but there isn't many things that you have the ability to do here. Okay. They are just dead. They are just dead here. We're going to be able to attack and get in a ton of damage. We also have U-Wing reinforcements in case that wasn't, absolutely a stomp here. And we had U-Wing reinforcements. We had double time intervention for a wrecker. And that is going to be the next game. Let's move on to our last and final game with Boba Red. On to the next matchup against Tarkin Yellow. And this looks like a fine hand. We get Battlefield Marine into Sundari Peacekeeper. There are so many people that are super high on this Tarkin deck. I am not a huge fan of it, but I know a lot of people love the Triple Dark Raid and getting all those vehicles out and rushing down your opponent. It is solid, don't get me wrong. It's not like terrible by any means, but I haven't just seen it really do its thing yet. As you might have seen previously, the best card in their deck is Overwhelming Barrage by a large margin. So as long as we're able to really kind of play around that, we are in a reasonable spot for the most part. The way they're playing this makes me think that they have, kind of nothing. They're going to go ahead and put an experience token on their ISB agent. Seems reasonable to me. We are going to probably resource this for a cause. And then here, I'm actually going to just straight up attack the ISB agent. And then not worry about the pump, because what I could do is I pump the Battlefield Marine with Sundari Peacekeeper, and then they put an experience token on it, which is, well, unfortunate for us. They went with Lurking TIE Phantom, which ends up being very, very solid for us. We can Traitorous the TIE Phantom. That's kind of interesting. Let's go ahead and resource one of these wreckers. We don't need too many of them. Oh, yeah. K2, pump up the Sundari Peacekeeper. Let's go ahead and attack with Battlefield Marine first, and then let's attack with a Sundari Peacekeeper. Make sure we get that restoring value. And, we are in a very, very good spot. Go ahead and resource this Maz Kanata. Now we can go Traitorous on their TIE Phantom. Or we can just go ahead and... what do we want to do here? I think we do actually just want to Traitorous their TIE Phantom. And now they have a very weak offense, and they have to go ahead and attack with Tarkin most likely here, so they can at least allow their TIE Phantom to trade. So they shouldn't be able to deal damage to the TIE Phantom. And it's only 4 damage, so that's like pretty weak. Yeah, I don't know if that was really the play here. All right, well, that's what they're going to do. I think that if we just get rid of Tarkin, clear their board, like they are so destroyed. Like they are so doomed. Let's just go ahead and deal 3. Here, let's go ahead and kill their TIE Phantom. Pretty nice little trait there. Then they could start killing my Sundari Peacekeeper, or they can't even kill Sundari Peacekeeper. I guess if they want to attack base, then they can, but yeah, they can't even get an experience token on one of their units. I think they should have Overwhelming Barraged differently. Okay, let's just go ahead and attack their base. And then pass. And now, we have another wrecker here. We get to go ahead and resource a Clone Deserter. So we can go resource Clone Deserter, play a Marauder, potentially. Let's just go ahead and attack for 5 here. TIE Vanguard. I suppose we could have flipped Boba to get an extra point of damage on the TIE Phantom. Because I am going to be probably playing out Wrecker here. See what our opponent's got, though. Surprise strike, huh? Yeah, let's just Marauder. Choose that, sure. Ambush the TIE Fighter. And then we're just going to attack for 4 here. The reason I'm doing it like this is because I want to keep an extra resource so that I can time the intervention out one of these Podamerons if I want to. A-Wing can go in the resource pile, not really relevant at this point. That's a Piet, huh? A Piet. Let's just go ahead and kill off the TIE Vanguard. Snow Trooper Lieutenant. Oh boy, this is getting a little brutal for our opponent, I will say. We could probably have just ended them by now. Yeah, let's just put them out of their misery, okay? Let's just win the game. I was like, oh, we have so much value here, but it wasn't even close. Like, I felt like we had so many different options that game. And this is what I was talking about. Like, Overwhelming Barrage is the best card in their deck, but I mean, Traitorous kind of wrecked them there. We had the ECL out Podameron, followed up with a Wrecker, with another Wrecker. I mean, we had Boba Fett on the battlefield. We were still hitting for a ton of damage. If you look at our bottom right, our opponent said Traitorous is so overpowered. That's why I put it in the deck, guys. But yeah, I mean, Snow Trooper Lieutenant is just not that great of a card. Piet's like not that great of a card. Triple Dark Raid, kind of Tarkin. ISB Agent, pretty weak card as well. Like, I mean, it's a 1 resource 2/4 in this deck. Like, it's okay. But it's just overall, Tarkin Yellow has been really unimpressive for me. Anyways, that's going to be the end of the matches. Thanks for watching, and let's talk about the final thoughts about the deck. All right, so what do we learn with Boba Red? Well, first off, guys, this is, again, just a straight up sort of variation of Sabine Green or Leia Red. More akin to Leia Red, as Leia Red wasn't quite as aggressive. Her leader came down a little bit later, and you kind of wanted to get up this like critical mass of units on the battlefield and then end the game that way on that turn 4 flip with Leia, where you attack with 1,000,000 points of damage. And that's kind of how Boba works. Like, you get a few units on the battlefield, you flip Boba, you pump all your units, and you just get in for a ton of damage, or you just outvalue them, and that's kind of what we ended up doing. We're a little bit bigger, like we're a big brother to Sabine Green and Leia Red, right? We're going a little bit bigger in terms of mana or resource cost and sort of value in units. Cards that worked really well, the standard stuff, you know, K2 worked awesome, A-Wing worked awesome, Battlefield Marine was great. A card that is just continuously amazing is Timely Intervention. You saw so many times where Timely Intervention plus Podameron or Wrecker just kind of ended the game. Of course, on top end, we had Marauder, which was really good in a lot of the games, Podameron, which was really good in a lot of the games, and Wrecker, which finished out the game very frequently. I like the 1 copy of Mace Windu. There were a few scenarios where Mace Windu was actually really excellent, and U-Wing Reinforcement won us one of those games earlier on. Traitorous absolutely outperformed. It literally just straight up won us the match against Mando Blue. There was like not any other way where we could have won that game. I will say there's a few cards that you could change out. Inspiring Mentor, I think, is a lot better in Sabine Green because she comes down so early and gives you a reliable body to place Inspiring Mentor and start growing very quickly, right? Because it turns Sabine into a 3/6, which is really hard to kill at that point in the game. Whereas when you put it on Boba Fett, or even if you put it on someone else, it's really awkward because what ends up happening is you want to pay resources to deploy or get your board deployed. But in Sabine, you can kind of use that turn to flip Sabine, and that kind of builds out your board, and then play Inspiring Mentor to grow your board. And you can even play double Inspiring Mentor the turn Sabine comes down, and that can just be absolutely game ending. And then the 1-drops / for a causes could be changed out. I think you can go with this plan of Maz Kanata, Clone Deserter, R2, and Reckless Gunslinger, or you could just drop all the 1-drops, file in a bunch more 2-drops, you know, playing like Sabine in the 2-drop slot, playing another Battlefield Marine, and that type of situation. We're just playing good 2-drops instead of going with the 1-drop plan. In some games, the 1-drops can be really valuable. In others, it can be pretty mediocre. And then taking out the 4 causes, there was a lot of times where we resourced them because we were the mid-range deck, so we wanted to get the value out and get our units deployed rather than going in for just straight up burning out our opponents. In some matchups, 4 cause is really good. Against like more controlling decks, 4 cause is excellent. But that's, of course, depending on the scenario. If you were to take out kind of the clone deserters and the Maz Kanata and the 4 cause, I definitely suggest you go one additional copy of modded cohort, giving you an additional 4-drop kind of curve out potential. An additional copy of U-Wing reinforcement seems really, really necessary as well. I even like the 3rd copy of Marauder. I think it ended up being excellent in so many different spots. And of course, filling out your 2-drop slot. I think between all of that, you probably end up with a nice 50 card deck. Overall, guys, Boba Red, really excellent. Again, going a little bit bigger than some of the more aggressive decks can work out really nicely, especially if you have ways to restore up, and Sundari Peacekeeper allows you to kind of stay in the game in some of those matchups, which ends up being pretty nice. And so if you're able to do so, then Boba Red, very solid. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all for the next one.